Ramadan Mubarak and welcome back to Cooking with Cass. Today we're going to be making a Yemeni-inspired chicken mandi. We'll start by cooking some coriander, cloves, black pepper, and cumin over low heat until fragrant. This technique is called blooming and makes the seasonings have a stronger flavor. Once that's smelling good, we'll toss those into a food processor and pulse until the seasonings are ground into a coarse powder. Now we'll combine our bloomed seasonings with our turmeric and a little more ground coriander. We'll give that a little mixing and set aside 2 or 3 teaspoons for now. We want to make this marinade into a thick paste using about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you find that your paste is too thick, add more oil in small amounts until you hit your desired consistency. Remember, you can always add more you can't take away. Now, before you season your chicken, I would highly recommend using rubber gloves and an apron. The turmeric will stain your fingers for days and your clothes forever. Also, I'd recommend getting some of the seasoning under the skin of the chicken. This will impart more of the flavor. To start preparing our rice, we'll fry up some slivered almonds over low heat in a pan with a tablespoon of neutral flavored oil. I use peanut oil, but as always, use whatever you prefer. Make sure you stir this constantly. The almonds burn very easily. Now we'll return some of the oil from the almonds to the pan and about half a cup of raisins. The sweet and savory flavor from the raisins and the nuttiness from the almonds complements the spices really well. This has become one of my absolute favorite ways to prepare rice. Now we'll thinly slice 4 yellow onions and fry those up in a cup of neutral oil over medium heat until golden brown and crispy. Keep in mind when frying that the color always deepens after the onions have been removed from the heat. I would recommend stirring these constantly to make sure that all the onions are cooking evenly. If you'd like some extra crispy ones, you can let them sit for 30 seconds to a minute and then continue stirring. Once those are browned, remove them to a plate and make sure to leave a couple of tablespoons in the pot. Now we'll add the remaining spice blend with 2 tablespoons of lime juice and 4 bay leaves. Stir that all up, add 2 cups of water, and bring that to a simmer. And while that simmers, why don't you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's great halal recipe. Now that we've got some seasoned broth, we want to prepare to steam our chicken. To do this, we'll place a wire rack into the pot, then place our chicken on top of the wire rack as evenly as possible. We'll bake the chicken later, so we don't need it to cook all the way through. Now we'll cover with a lid and steam for 50 minutes. Make sure to vent the steam and add some water every 10 or so minutes if necessary. We'll remove the chicken to an aluminum foil-lined baking sheet, then carefully remove the wire rack. Next, we'll strain our cooking liquid into a mixing bowl and transfer to a measuring cup that we'll add our halal chicken broth to. We want to have about 4.5 cups of liquid in total. Don't skip this step because the broth that we've been simmering will be a concentration of all the flavors we've been cooking and will make sure our rice is well seasoned. Now we'll pour our seasoned broth into the pot. Then we'll put our chicken in the oven and bake at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes or until the internal temperature registers 165 degrees. Now we'll season our broth with turmeric and salt to taste. The more turmeric you have, the more of a nice yellow color our rice will have once it's fully cooked. We'll place 3 cups of rinsed basmati rice and bring that to a simmer. Rinsing our rice will wash out most of the starch and prevent our rice from becoming too mushy later. Make sure to mix that around so all of the rice has touched the broth, then we'll bring that to a simmer. Once that's looking good and bubbly, we'll cover and continue simmering on medium-low for 20 minutes or until the liquid is all absorbed and the rice is tender. Finally, we'll add our almond and raisin mixture into our rice, toss it all up, and serve that with some garlic naan from the link in the description. Don't forget to use that code for $10 off your first order too. And that's it for this week's Cooking with Cass. Make sure you pick up all your halal ingredients at the link in the description, and we'll see you next week for another awesome halal recipe.